when you're on a journey to actively really understand who you are and experience a spiritual awakening where you recognize the divinity within you and you understand that your power as a creator of your reality is something that is totally your responsibility. And though there comes times and moments throughout this journey where this realization can be daunting, it can be heavy, you can even be in denial of it even. And what happens is eventually over the course of time or the course of various experiences, you begin to simply recognize that something that you heard, something that you read, something that you've seen, though you might have been resistant to it initially because it really conflicted with your belief system at that moment. And you weren't ready to actually break free of that paradigm. You just could not unhear it anymore, right? You had to simply acknowledge that it made an impact, that it planted a seed. And over the course of time, even though you denied that seed its nutrients, it still was planted. And eventually, over time, it will still sprout within you a realization that, you know what, there is something to be said about this concept of creating my reality and thus being able to take responsibility over the creations that I'm experiencing. And so that is an initial phase of the true spiritual awakening and ultimately tapping into your divine essence, your divine power. And so what I want to share with you is 3 benefits or 3 things that you will definitely begin to notice about really coming into an awakening and having the self-realization of tapping into really understanding who you are. And the first one is you begin to clear out the illusion, right, that there is a separation, right? You begin to understand this understanding of non-duality, which we often refer to it as, where though we can look at the contrast of the universe and recognize that, okay, there is left, there is right, there is up, down, there is cold, there is hot, right? There's a sun, there's the moon. You have all these things. There's front, there's back, these things that essentially cannot exist without the other, right? Even good and evil. Because without good, then we wouldn't be able to acknowledge evil. Without evil, we wouldn't be able to appreciate good. Okay. Just like good and bad of things you experience in life, even anger, sadness, right? Joy, happiness. Without sadness, you could not understand happiness. See, so we acknowledge that there is a contrast that exists throughout the universe. And we look at those things as separate. Even your relationship with the divine, right? Your relationship with the universe or even God. You may have thought that you are separate from God. Whereas when you are on the spiritual journey, that line begins to blur and eventually it fades away because there is no longer a separation of good, bad, right? Up, down. There is no separation of you and the divine intelligence of the universe, aka God. You recognize that it is all one. And that the things that we often identify as separate, right, being good and bad, are actually simply a spectrum of the same essence. And so when you start to understand that, then the lines, the illusions of separation begin to fade away. And trust me, sometimes for a lot of people, it can be difficult, right? Because you think that that needs to be clear in understanding what is your purpose, right? You are to be a good person, right? You are to be the best version of yourself and not be the least version of yourself or the worst version of yourself. But when you get to a point of recognizing that there is no worse or good, right? There is no best, there is no worst. There is simply acknowledging and accepting self as you are. And once you understand that, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? You even begin to not define them as good, bad, ugly. You define them as simply love, acceptance, right? Wholeness, recognizing your light self and also your shadow self, and not pushing down, right, the parts of you that you feel hold a negative, connotation to, right? Just like people who identify the ego as something that is bad that they need to get rid of. But when you get to a certain point, you recognize that, wait a minute, the ego is actually necessary. Though the ego is responsible for creating this idea of separation, when you understand that you are completely consciousness, your core, the true self, then in order for you to exist in this reality, you have to create another side of the spectrum, right? A quote unquote false self, which is the ego. And that job is to create this illusion of separation. And that is essentially what is a necessary part when playing this game of life. You have to learn how to play with the ego and basically understand it, respect it, and put it in its proper place rather than it controlling you. You see, so along this journey, you start to let go of this idea of separation. And then you really embrace your divine nature. And the divine nature is one that recognizes the completion, right? A holistic point of view as to how you are going to walk this path of life. Okay. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to really step into your spiritual power, right? To the fullest level. You're going to really be full of spiritual power and understanding that, yes, you have dissolved, right? The illusions of separation. You understand that you and the universe are one. So therefore, the universe, with all its infinite power, is also available to you. It is your infinite power as well. You see, so then you start to let go of this idea of simply being a human being and recognizing that you are an infinite being who happens to be in a human body. And so you start to break away from feeling like the human body or the human experience is very restricted. You see, and then you understand that it is your consciousness, the thing that actually moves, animates your body and expresses and it feels and has emotions and has desire, is something that is actually embraced and something that you understand as a mechanism for purpose, right? What you're here to do is to use this body, not be restricted, not be confined, not feel like this body is stopping you from accessing the fullest potential of your power. You see, so then you recognize, you know what? I'm going to use this body to its fullest capability and beyond and outside of the body, where you incorporate your mind, right? Where you incorporate your imagination to thus allow you to visualize, to imagine, to see, and create a reality that you desire, and thus use the body to actually make it happen in any way possible that you see possible. Okay. But it isn't just restricted to the body. Of course, as you are an infinite being, that means you have infinite tools available to you to actually create that which you desire. But the bottom line is, once you dissolve the illusion of separation, because the body is also in itself an illusion. So once you separate from feeling like your body is separate from the universe and just recognizing that there is just simply layers of experience that we are having, the body is just one layer of experience. Your body is just one layer of experience. And so as you continue to advance in your spiritual awakening, the layers begin to, again, dissolve, just like the, ideas of separation. Okay, because you recognize that they're all that is. It's simply just layers. It's simply just ways by which you can look at, life as maybe an onion where it has different layers to it, but it's still part of the same whole. Maybe even you look at the earth, there's layers of crust, right? Layers of earth all the way down to its core. You look at an apple, there are layers to it. So you recognize that in nature, even, continuing to look at nature, when you look at a tree and it is cut down, you can see the layers of growth within that tree. So everything, is reflective, and everything in nature shows us, basically gives us the wisdom and the guidance as to how to look at this spiritual journey. But ultimately, once you accomplish or are able to recognize the illusion of separation, you begin to tap into your own power, and you begin to utilize and understand how to essentially see yourself as one with the universe, therefore being able to access the power of the universe to create the universe that you desire. It's very interesting and very amazing. And then the last thing is you begin to experience your true, inner like liberation, okay, and alignment. So you really access and understand who you truly are. You see, so this isn't about really like finding and trying to fit into some idea of what somebody who is spiritually awakened looks like. Because you will find that happens for a lot of people where they have this idea that to be spiritually awakened, you must walk around barefoot everywhere. You must only eat, a certain particular diet. You must only speak in a certain tone or say a couple of words, be very minimalistic in life, be very calm all the time, and have no sense of personality. But that isn't the truth. The true essence of the spiritual awakening is really acknowledging and owning who you are, because you are unique, you are special, you are individualized as God coming down, experiencing life as you. And so that means that there is a individual, unique, spark, something that is special that we all should experience. And so you shouldn't mute that, right? You shouldn't dumb that down. You should be yourself to your fullest, potential, to the fullest essence of who you are, and just completely be natural. Be yourself. As cliche as it sounds, that's essentially what you do when you are really spiritually awakened. You are unafraid, right? It's not even a question of fear. It's not even a question of being courageous. It simply is a experience of recognizing that you are you. And in order for you to experience life and enjoy life to its fullest, you have to do so from a very authentic space. So you must be authentic with yourself, and you must exude and express that throughout your life, in your relationships, right? In everything that you do. Be yourself, because then the universe recognizes that you are in alignment with yourself, that you are liberated and you're not feeling restricted to try to fit into a box or try to get somebody else's approval, right? Try to get that job and try to act a certain way, right? To try to, make friends or make sure that somebody likes you, Yes, you want to be kind, you want to be, compassionate, but you want to be you first and foremost. All those things come immediately right after. So be mindful that on this journey, there are some signs that you're going to experience. So these are the three things that I think are the most important things that are going to help you to recognize that you are on your way, right? That you are on your way to being completely fulfilled, being in alignment with the universe and your purpose, and recognizing that you have everything that you need available to you. All of these things, when you think about it, all are about accessing it within yourself, right? They're available to you within yourself to achieve these things, right? To clear the illusion of separation, right? To tap into your full power, right? To truly be liberated and aligned. So you have to understand that all these things, all that you desire really to experience, is all within you already. We're busy looking on the outside of ourselves, recognizing that, there isn't an outside anyway, right? So we're looking on the outside, which is an illusion, and we're not looking within. When we look within, we recognize that the outside is an actually reflection of ourselves, but it starts within and then it expresses outward. So be mindful, right? Go within. Stay focused on being your true self, not so much the best version of yourself, because again, best identifies a separation, right? It identifies illusion of judgment, right? That one thing is better than the other. But if we just accept things as they are, embrace the moment, embrace who you are, then everything is great. If you need help and support with this, I recommend you get my book, The Enlightened Shadow, which is available on Amazon, ebook, print, and also the audiobook. Thank you so much. Feel free. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.